Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Rudra Chowdhury, who last year met 4 Taliban representatives to discuss, amongst other things, their attitude to peace talks. I began by asking him if the Taliban were capable of compromise.
You have one brand of the Taliban negotiating in Doha and elsewhere, but at the same time making clear to their cadre that, look, the fight is still on. I mean, much like sort of Western forces or British forces, the Taliban too have a cadre and a constituency that they have to appease. So this cannot be seen as a signal of defeat or surrender.
You've spoken to former Taliban members. How possible is compromise, given that these are extremists, and you could say, well, compromise just isn't in their DNA?
I think compromise is possible. I think the Taliban have realized, much like Western forces, that there is no military victory to this fight, that they cannot militarily take Afghanistan back. They are on the back foot as far as the military operations are concerned. And there is a realization